Yeah, Joe, this, wait a minute. Let me show it. This iPad with keyboard is better than that piece of junk computer you have. Why is it blurred out like I'm witness protection or something? That's weird.
It's the porn.
It's all,
you can't put porn on a podcast.
StreamYard blocks the stream. It's like
StreamYard. Oh, like a screenshot security. Yeah, like in the Signal or something where you can't screenshot text. Oh, there we go.
I think it's just my fucking camera. It can't take the light coming in on it. That's weird. Anyway, I took this on vacation, and there were a couple of times I wished I'd had a full-blown computer, but I got to tell you, for you, this is probably ideal. And you can actually, you know what I did the video we were editing, I plugged in the same mic that I have here. I bought another one, and it plugs in via USB-C. Works beautifully. Works phenomenally well. And awesome camera. You can do with apps just about anything you can do on the computer. For somebody like you that doesn't do like high-end computing, you're not editing videos, the
only thing I'm really doing these days is decks and spreadsheets occasionally.
And I bought this iPad Pro. This is the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. I bought it refurbished. So it was, now it's going to be more than that, disposable $150 computer you buy, but
no, man, it's $700. Don't diss me live. Come on, it's $700.
This'll hit you refurbished probably $700 to $900. But
yeah,
and then before I bought the Apple Magic Keyboard refurbished, I had an external miniature Bluetooth keyboard that worked beautifully with this for $30 on Amazon. And I got to tell you, man, this probably is all you need, and you can plug it into an external monitor. So.
Yeah, I've been, look, when I first started getting into these like lighter, what would we call them back in the day? Ultra books or something, it was because I was traveling all the time and I needed power, but I didn't, and I needed screen because I was working in airplane seats and stuff like that constantly. And so now where I don't do that as much, it's kind of like I'm sort of stuck in between. I don't want the desktop at home because it just seems such a, it's like the console TV. It's sort of like, wait, what? But laptops, I don't cart them around anymore. So the only thing I would cart around would be, like you said, a tablet or a phone. And I don't really have to build stuff on the fly on travel. So but anyhow,
and you can look. I mean, you can do full spreadsheet capabilities. It's not like you can't do it. And that keyboard has a built-in trackpad, so it's like using a notebook.
Check it out.
You just pop the iPad off if you want to do, whatever.
That's the Samsung product.
Seriously.
Brad can never quite tell if I'm deadpan or if
Mom, can you reach over and slap him, please? Is she there still?
No. She doesn't like to hear the profanity.
Can you ground? Oh.
Not really. She doesn't really care. I'm kidding, but
that's fucking hilarious.
So what do you see going on today, man?
Dude. All right, so let's open up the shit here. Let me see what we got. Window.
I didn't see a lot of stuff out there. I see like some.
So the Three Arrows boys decided to break their silence with Bloomberg, and called what happened to them regrettable, and basically. So they're blaming their downfall on Luna, STETH, and GBTC, whatever it is, Grayscale's shit.
Okay.
But they're like, oh, we met Do Kwon. We really feel like he was building a great thing, blah, blah, blah. We had no idea that it could be susceptible to attacks like this. I'm thinking, dude, you're the guy that manipulates the price of Ethereum with your followers on Twitter. And you're going to fucking sit here and tell me you had no idea that there were problems with 20% fucking interest? Bullshit. I mean, it's absolute bullshit. These guys, they're trying to rehabilitate themselves and blame this on externalities when this is entirely entirely their fault for mismanaging it.
They're trying to remove the intent in the act. They're trying to remove the potential conspiracy charges with this.
Exactly.
So, like, we didn't know. Do Kwon looked like a good guy, but hell, 20% returns, those are out of this world. And because they were so high, we didn't even bother to look deeper. I mean, it's just like, dude, you just circle the drain when you start saying stuff like that.
It's just so pitiful. It's like, dude, just take your look. You're probably going to jail, or at the very least, you're going to be,
tied up for a while,
devastated for a very long time. Your entire life is going to be attorneys and court filings and, idiots threatening you and all kinds of shit. But it's just the fact that, and I don't have do you have a Bloomberg sub?
No. But I can usually get into an article. If you got a link, I could usually get into one before they lock me down.
Yeah, they lock me down every time. Let me see if I can, in an incognito window, if I can read the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm going to pop up. What is the article?
It's Bloomberg, 3 Arrows founders break silence. And actually, they're letting me read it. So, but here's the thing. It's like, does the reporter call them out and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Davey said the whole situation is regrettable. Oh, let me share this screen.
Yeah, I love the rest of the article. 3 Arrows Capital founders break their silence, look to move to Dubai. There's another good quote in here where it's like, we just think it's better if we pull back and lay low for a little while. I mean, who do these people think they are? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If we can be physically secured and keep a low profile, as you said. Well, no shit. Because people are coming for you.
People are going to come for you, dude. It's like, hundreds of millions of dollars. So anyway, they're just a piece of work, dude. And it's like this whole idea that you think that anyone is going to believe that this spin is just stupid. It's just like, just shut the fuck up. Deal with your attorneys. The only people you should be talking to is your attorneys. Shut the fuck up. Don't go public. Don't talk about any of this. Nobody, absolutely, there is not a soul on the planet familiar with 3 Arrows Capital and what happened that is going to believe that you were that stupid. I mean, innocent, ignorant of what was happening. You knew there was risk. You knew Do Kwon this was a pipe dream. And you knew that 20% was stupid. So anyway,
Yeah, I always wonder how, when everybody starts piling in on this stuff, despite all the warning signs, and I was trying to think of a Wall Street equivalent, and I was thinking about long-term capital management or whatever that was called. Most people probably weren't born then, but it was, kind of a precursor to the hedge fund space, but they were doing a lot of stuff in currencies, sovereign currencies and things like that. And it got to the point where at the end, when they were trying to unwind, they had both sides of the book almost entirely. It was all them. So they could only sell it to themselves or not. And it was, it was only a couple billion, but back then that was a big number. And I don't get how people keep piling in. I guess people get desperate and they're trying to get their bonuses or something. But in the VC space, like the 3AC guys, I don't know, man. There's something else going on there because there's too much quid pro quo. And I think that they should have picked up on some of this stuff.
Well, and I love this shit where they started talking about Celsius and others. And they're like, it's not a surprise that Celsius, ourselves, these kinds of firms all have problems at the same time. Dude, these people all had problems at the same time because they were fucking on your books. What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like you are the linchpin to everyone collapsing. It's just incredible.
You better find somebody else to dump this on, or you're going to the pokey for a while.
I gotta believe they're probably, maybe they can get out of it and just get civil complaints against them, but nobody's going to give them a fucking dime.
Yeah. But, justice there's not a lot of wiggling around room in, let's put it like this way, Southeast Asian justice systems. They do trials, yes, But
yeah, exactly.
You're pleading out before the trial, no matter what, because you know which way it's probably going to go, particularly if you're guilty. So I wouldn't be relishing that. I would be, I don't know, getting somewhere physically secured, as he said.
Yeah. This is the quote. What we failed to realize that Luna was capable of falling to effective zero in a matter of days, and that this would catalyze a credit squeeze across the industry that would put significant position on all of our illiquid positions. Well, did you do the math, dude? I mean,
that is the math problem. Yeah.
It's like, hello, what the fuck? He said, in retrospect, the firm may have been too close to Terra's founder, Do Kwon. We began to know Do Kwon on a personal basis as he moved to Singapore, and we just felt like the project was going to do very big things and already had done very big things. If we could have seen that, that this was now like potentially like attackable in some ways, and that it had grown too big, too fast. It's like, how do you not know that? You're in this industry where attacks on liquidity positions happen every fucking day.
I don't think
it was
people
very much a long-term capital moment for us. We had different types of trades that we all thought were good, and other people also had these trades, and then they kind of all got super marked down super fast.
Yeah, when there's no exits.
Welcome to crypto, dude.
Yeah, but that's it's interesting that, like, I remember, look, if you're setting, like, I guess maybe they didn't get too close to Do Kwon, and he was, I mean, I saw that in the past with charismatic founders that dupe people into stuff. But, you got to remember, most of the financier people are in it for the fees, and they're trying to broker people into these deals. So, it's always this kind of thing about, if you don't believe in the project, should you really be pushing it? Well, of course, everybody does, even if they don't believe in it, to get the fees. So, I just think, again, look at 3AC. I don't know how many people were at that firm, but there obviously wasn't like risk mitigation teams around these founders. There was nothing.
I think they used to brag that it was like 8 people.
Yeah. I am curious about the GBTC angle. Now, what does he say in here? This is what I was curious about. How did that go negatively to them?
Another bullish trade that came back to bite 3AC was through the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. The closed-end fund allows people who can't or don't want to hold Bitcoin directly to instead buy shares in a fund that invested them for a while. GBTC, so popular, blah, blah, blah. Grayscale allowed big investors like 3AC to purchase shares directly by giving Bitcoin to the trust. These GBTC holders could then sell the shares to the secondary market. That premium meant any sales could net an attractive profit for the big investors. At the time of its last filing, 3AC was the largest holder of GBTC with a position then worth, that was 2020, end of 2020, $1 billion. The strategy had a snag, though. The shares bought directly from Grayscale were locked up for 6 months at a time, and starting in early 2021, that restriction gave it a problem. The GBTC price slipped from a premium to a discount. A share was worth less than the Bitcoin backing it as it faced different competition from similar products. As the months went on, the discount got wider and wider, and the so-called GBTC arbitrage trade no longer worked, especially hurting investors that used leverage to try to enhance returns. It was partly their own success that helped propel both GBTC and the herd mentality around the trade. Blah, blah. And then, like, others copied us into that trade later on and then lost not just the money, but also went into negatives. Everyone did it. Then the trust went to discount and then went to a far bigger discount than anyone thought possible. Zhu cited overconfidence born of a multi-year bull market that infused not just him and Davies, but nearly all of the industry's credit infrastructure, where lenders saw their value swell by virtue of financing firms like his. There was always an understanding of what they were getting themselves into. This was a risky firm, Zhu said. For us, if you could go to our website, we've always had massive disclaimers about crypto risk. We've never once pitched ourselves as risk-free like a simple yield. When crypto markets first started buckling in May, we met all margin calls, he said. And so people understood that there was a risk involved.
Well, he's displaying some CYA. I don't know. The GBTC, I definitely remember those unlocks, because back in like the first half of 2021, those were driving some massive rallies. Remember we were tracking that as like a major indicator for a while?
Yeah.
Whenever that, almost like a happening kind of thing. It was a big issue. And then it went away. Because I think what you said is the arbitrage side. Now, I guess these guys were coming in and locking up Bitcoin, say when it was at maybe 55, and or somehow getting into grayscale in positions where there was priced at 55 and they were locked in for like 6 months. I mean, I think that must be what he means. Is that the way you read it?
Yeah, I go ahead.
No, and so he didn't have access to that when they were having the run.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm sure that's it. You know what comes out of all of this is they're trying to blame the overall market. They're trying to blame the lenders that lent to them with low collateral, and saying, well, they made a lot of money on us, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, they were all fucking irresponsible. Celsius, them, everybody was. And I think we're going to find out that they're that it's obviously a more irresponsible approach than they're going to let on in the interview with Bloomberg.
Yeah, I mean, just naivete, hey, all power to them. You don't know what you're doing. You still get people to throw you billions of dollars.
Yeah.
But, you have to always remember that there's always a day like this. There's always a day when, hey, man, the party stops.
Yeah.
And you better be squeaky clean at that moment or have some serious reserves in place to protect yourself. Because if you don't have big lawyer money and big reserves, when this type of stuff happens, you just get totally destroyed.
Yeah.
So welcome to the NFL, boys.
So, South Korea is changing their posture again, kind of like Russia.
Yeah.
They've decided to delay their 20% cryptocurrency tax until 2025. They're never going to do it. There's so much crypto activity in that country. They'll have rioting on their hands.
Yeah, a lot of those investment clubs are Korean women, housewives, moms, and they're I don't know, where I grew up, there was a lot of Koreans lived there, and in fact, my hair cutter lady was Korean when I was a kid. But they get these like little posses together of like 12, 15 of the moms, and then they basically, if anybody needs to borrow money for anything, they lend it out of that pool. That little group of people, and they do the same in investments. So they come in an investment club, pick a crypto, and they all pile in. So, that's a pretty big constituency there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's a smart move to delay it for a while. I mean, basically, I think a lot of people probably have no tax liability this year on crypto, but maybe so. So.
Well, I know there'll be a few, but probably not a lot. So, all right, let's see what else we got, Joe. Analysts will suspect the Fed will bump federal funds rate by 75 BPS next week. Others predict the biggest hike in decades. Any thoughts on the macro picture, Joe?
I'm hearing 100 basis points. Again, it always comes back to me. I was just talking about this yesterday to someone, and to me, these interest rate hikes aren't really stopping the juggernaut. All they're doing is sucking more capital into the dollar economies. So that has good effects as far as on inflation for us, because it makes imports cheaper. So we're seeing good stuff there. But, I don't know. The big thing to me is how fast the Fed can taper that balance sheet. And I'm interesting that we don't hear a lot of people. This is the 7, I think, trillion in T-bills or whatever, or assets held on the Fed balance sheet that has to go back out into the economy. And so it comes out of the banking system. So it has a massive slowdown effect because you don't get that force multiplier of capital. That's the most important thing. So I think they're going to be raising these rates for, I would say 100 bips for a couple of cycles. But I think they're trying to keep everybody focused there while they're hopefully being super aggressive on tapering the balance sheet. So they don't want everybody to start really doing the math on that one.
Right.
Because if you think of like $1 in a bank, the lend multiplier cycle, I think it turns into like $9. Well, if you got 7 trillion on the balance sheet that you're unwinding, I mean, that sounds like, I don't know, 63 trillion in capital to me. I mean, it's a big friggin' number. So how that's timed out and how it's staggered, I mean, that to me is the most important. So I think 100 bips, nobody's going to blink at. And I think it's just going to accelerate dollar strength. So I would look for it.
Awesome. Wait, we didn't even talk price at the beginning today, Joe.
No, I mean, I thought everything looked okay. I think I saw
23,129, 1573. That's decent.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost a point on the fear and greed index. We're down to 33.
Yeah, I think, again, I was so surprised at all of the news of Musk and Tesla selling all the Bitcoin in the second, selling it all, I guess, in the second quarter. That I think I heard somebody say in an article I read today that it was priced at like 38 or something like that. I'm just surprised that didn't have more of a negative effect.
Well,
because
maybe he did it. Maybe he was the lead in.
Or maybe that's what caused that chart to fall off a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly.
or 6 weeks ago, I guess it was. Yeah, that's probably people knew. Yeah, so, but still, there was still demand there to buy it up. I mean, at least not let it free fall. There's been demand there supporting it. So to me, I think that's kind of a good sign, of resiliency. So I'm kind of happy to see that.
Niblet says, I hear the Fed only changes course once they've broken something. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean,
and Eamon is asking, does Joe have a mohawk? And it does look like you had.
No.
You have a mohawk.
It's because I don't have the blur filter on and I'm not wearing a headset. So when I have the headset on, then everything starts blurring. But yeah, no, it's just, the way my hair is, what's left of it, right?
I freaking love it. Love it. Let's see what else we got here. South Korea, we did 3 hours. Philippines central bank governor says no plans to ban crypto, even though he's no fan of crypto. That to me is important. Having friends there and having done a lot of business there for a number of years. Love the people of that country. The government's been a shithole for the last few years, but in some ways worse than ours, in other ways not so much. But glad to see that, because I think if there's any place in the world that the people of a country can benefit from crypto, it's places like the Philippines, where there is some really extreme poverty, really, really extreme poverty. So I hope an ecosystem can continue to thrive there. Yield Guild Games is from there. The founder of Yield Guild Games was formed in the Philippines, and they have a pretty strong gamer developer community, as well as a huge percentage of the Axie revenues were going to people in the Philippines. It was paying their bills. So, when your cost of living is a few $100 a month, something like that can be all the difference between actually eating and not eating. So glad to see that there's no plan to ban.
I was expecting a bigger reaction than that, to in line with what you were thinking about the Axie Infinity stuff. I did see somebody picking a token today called IBAT or something like that, which was something like Battle Infinity or something. It's supposed to be like a successor to that. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not.
Battle Infinity, I think it's called. And I don't know if it was still in pre-sale or what, but
I don't know, dude.
It was an article. It was a lame article where somebody was picking the 6 cryptos to buy. And of course they, BTC and Ethereum were 2 of them. And you're like, oh, great, this is going to suck. Yeah. And the third one was Doge, but then it had like IBAT and DeFi something and another one. I only brought that up because of what you said about Axie Infinity in Philippines.
Yeah. I've never heard of IBAT. Let me see if I can find anything.
Battle Infinity. Let's see. IBAT, Battle Infinity.
The metaverse-focused play-to-earn game.
Axie Infinity priced down 30% after people joined Battle Infinity. That's interesting.
That is interesting. I have no idea.
Well, worth checking out. I don't know anything about them. I just saw it in some press somewhere today, but
maybe they're paying more.
Yeah, I like those games, particularly in
fantasy sports.
Ooh. Well, I think it's really important for, in a lot of the, say, less affluent economies, it really gives people a chance to make money that can feed their, their family, their village, their town, whatever. But problem is that they're almost too true believers of it, and they don't know when to sell. And
Yeah.
oh, that too. I like that. I think HAWKE maybe.
Yeah,
Joe
let's
Hawk.
call him Joe Hawk. Now,
Yeah.
here's my question on this Battle Infinity. Do they actually have anything yet? Or is this just fucking token sale stupid? It's just
I think
token
we're
sale.
early. I think we're early.
Yeah,
I just saw
we're
it this
always
morning.
fucking early. Give me a
Yeah, I
break.
don't know what's going on there. But
Right
I'm a
now,
big fan.
nothing but a token sale.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then I would be more into, if I was going to do something, take a flyer. I don't even want to call it a flyer, but I'd be doing the Dow one instead of this.
Yeah.
At this point.
This is crap. I shouldn't say that. It may turn out to be a great thing, but there's nothing here except a token sale. So,
And
I
there's no
think
beta game up or anything.
nah, there's
Okay.
products. All they do is go to a listing of, they're going to have a DEX, they're going to have an NFT marketplace, and they're going to have battle games, battle arena, battle staking, and the IBAT Premier League, which will be the first decentralized blockchain NFT based fantasy sports game integrated with a metaverse, which sounds like a great idea, actually, but you got to build
They're
something.
hitting all the buzzwords. They're hitting all the buzzwords.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, like, that is chock full. All right. Let's see what else we got. So Coinbase came out and said, no, SEC, we don't list any securities, because the SEC in the filing against the dude for insider trading at Coinbase named, I believe it was 9 currencies as securities. And a lot of people are saying that maybe the SEC doesn't really give a shit about this arrest. What they wanted was a way to slide in labeling some tokens in court as securities, and then maybe you hope that this guy takes a plea deal, and now you've got some, you don't have a judgment, but you have some level of precedence of establishing particular tokens as securities. And that I wouldn't put it past them at all. So, Anyway, this is Coinbase basically saying, look, we cover our ass. This is Coinbase Legal saying we analyze and review each asset. And they said we reviewed it before making it available on our exchange, a process that the SEC itself has reviewed. We have cooperated with both the DOJ and the SEC on this investigation. The DOJ reviewed the same facts and chose not to file securities fraud charges against those involved. Gensler is just off the fucking reservation in his own world. He's just creating he's got his own little kingdom and thinks he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And until Biden or somebody slaps his hand, he's going to keep just doing shit and ignoring every other part of the regulatory infrastructure in this country. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't know much about this. Which ones are they saying are securities, by the way? That's kind of what I was getting.
I saw the list the other day.
Let me see if it's here. Yeah, and it was like his 2 friends got busted too, because they were the ones buying the tokens. I mean, this is what always cracks me up. You think you're in a position where you're one of 50 people that know some information, you give it to your friends to start buying. And everybody knows that's where you look for you look for the output of insider trader information. You don't try to catch the information.
Yeah, and I can see the conversation right now. Don't worry about it. You can't trace it. It's on the blockchain. Nobody will know. Don't worry about it. It's like, give me a fucking break.
So
I can't find the list of coins.
I don't get why. I don't get why Coinbase. So Coinbase's defense was for this guy. It sounds like, where they're saying they're not securities, but the whole lawsuit against the insider trading dude is that 9 of them were
9 tokens. Here we go. They're claiming that these 9 are. Where are the 9? Here we go. Power Ledger, POWR, Chromatica, KROM, DFX Finance, DFX, AMP, Rally, RLY. Oh, Rari Governance Token, RGT, DerivaDAO, DDX, LCX, and XYO. is this the Rari? I don't think so. Is that Rari's governance token?
RGT?
Yeah. I mean, is that the
Rari governance token 498 24-hour volume? Let's see. I'm going to a description here real quick. July Rari governance token price 492 56. I don't think.
Huh?
I don't know. It's like it's only available on like BTCX, Gate, well, Coinbase, ZT, and Bitstamp.
None of the
native
dexes?
token behind Rari Capital. It is, yeah, it is theirs.
Okay. Well, so there's some other stuff. The Rari Capital exploit that occurred a few months ago, I guess it was April, and the follow-on vote whether or not to reimburse funds to people that got exploited using Fei's collateralized funds to pay back people that were exploited on Rari. And the Fei team came out and said, don't vote for this. Just so everybody knows that doesn't aware, Rari and Fei joined together to create a DAO together to merge. And so anyway, what I noticed today, because I saw somebody who lost a lot of money in that exploit, venting about how pissed off they were and basically threatening legal action against Rari and Fei or Tribe for not reimbursing folks. What's really interesting is both of the projects have gone basically silent. And to me, it's really strange because having interviewed Joey Santoro, the founder of Fei, I'm just kind of really shocked by the fact that they're not at least communicating in some way what they're working on. But if you'll remember, a few weeks ago, Maki, formerly of Sushi, Olympus DAO, and some others that were big losers in the exploit were supposedly putting something together to make it so that retail traders could get compensated first, they get compensated later, it'll take a haircut. But I just haven't heard any news about it. So I'm a little shocked that, it's, that they haven't done anything. Anyway, I got off on a tangent there. Eamon says,
go ahead. I was going to say one interesting thing though, is that, okay, so if RGT or Rari is indeed a security and they got hacked, then it tells me that is, it's like it's like banks, public companies, all of a sudden you're under FBI jurisdiction at that point. And I'm wondering if I'd be curious to know if there is a big investigation going on at Rari because of that issue, that, now you're stealing securities. It's not like, well, what is it? And they're naming it as that. As far as insider trading, what Eamon was saying, my understanding is that, there's very tight rules around public companies, obviously, and non-material information disclosures. Like you make the example there, I think it was Lego doing a new set of Legos, or some strategic initiative going in place where, they're going to generate more cash flow, which should make the stock price go up. I think that it depends on who hears the information. Okay, if it's an MBA corporate securities lawyer dude and hears that information at a cocktail party and goes and trades on it, yeah, it's insider trading. But if it's a person who doesn't usually trade and they kind of hear that and they're like, oh man, Steve said it's a good deal, maybe I should buy it, and they go buy it, I don't think that is insider trading, because they're not a securities professional, or they're not. Right. And then there's also probably something about public, if it's public or not. I mean, and how big the bet is, things like that. I mean, I think it's just it's usually water cooler chatter in general, just like what we talk about on the show. But if you see, like, somebody gives you a document that's like the list on Coinbase and these are all getting listed, I think that's much more easy to prove, and I think it's much more a clear-cut case.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you can always be like, oh, I didn't know. Or, oh, wait, I didn't know that was protected information. How am I supposed to know that? I just own restaurants or something.
Yeah. And I think Eamon's point is valid, though, that these are not, it doesn't matter if they listed them as securities or not. I think it's the SEC trying to slime in securities regulations where they shouldn't be.
Or everybody's trying to figure out what is a security in this space still.
Right. But I think it's the SEC trying to dictate what it is, right? By having it be in a case where there's going to be a judgment of some kind or
you'll get a precedent. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's, Gensler, SEC's, just kind of trying to wedge their way into what they haven't been able to get yet, especially because they're still fighting XRP. So who knows?
And maybe they're really thinking more of a long game play. They don't really care about these three stooges. They're really looking at Coinbase. And so they could get the stooges case to say, it was a security.
Exactly. That's what I meant earlier, that they're just using this as an excuse.
But as soon as you get any of these defined as a security, I mean, Binance better look out. They're coming for you. I mean, it's just
absolutely.
So be prepared.
Boston Consulting Group says 1 billion users in crypto by 2030.
I like that.
Yeah, I'd like it to be 2, but I'll take 1.
But see, what's good is BCG, is circulating this research amongst their clients, which is probably their financial services group or their, anybody to deal with money. And, and so they're circulating that out. So then corporations look at it like the CEO's going, is this crypto shit real or not? And it's like, hey, BCG says this. So they're like, well, fuck, man, it must be. So this is good institutional collateral from my perspective. When you get quotes like that, E&Y, BCG, as much as, I don't want to say they're worthless companies because they're not, but as much as I'm not the big consultant firm dude, they do serve a purpose.
This is interesting. They mapped out the path of crypto to .com, and look at we're at 1998. Tencent, Google, and PayPal launch years, which this is really interesting. And so they're mapping out the number of users. They're basing it on the number of users, and then what companies came along in the timeline during that time frame. And so 1 billion users was 2005, and for internet for .com. So we're not even close to halfway there.
Yeah, I almost feel like I always put us into Netscape went public in 95, if I remember correctly, like May or April of 95, which was, to me, was kind of like the first sort of like, hey, what the hell is this internet thing? I mean, we'd all heard of stuff about email and different things, different aspects of that in, big corporate and government projects, but it was the first time there was something out there where it was really for the retail audience. And that was 95. So in 99, 2000 is where we were really bubbling up. I almost feel like we might even be earlier than that myself. So they're saying early here. I think we might be a little bit earlier. I might be like 96-ish in my mind.
I was going to say late 96, 97.
Yeah.
From my own personal experience. That's what now they're basing it on user counts, but based on.
Oh, I didn't pick that up.
Yeah. So they're basing it on overall users now and the curve that .com went through. But I actually think that you're right that we're earlier because, number one, the exponential reach of the internet makes the adoption of crypto something that once the UX is better, that's going to happen, I think, more rapidly. I think there'll be a faster pace once more people start to accept it. Whereas the internet didn't exist before the internet. So it was a much steeper hill to climb conceptually for people. I actually think you're right. I also think that the tech is at about the late 96, 97 stage. So from a tech and user experience perspective, I really fundamentally believe that we're at that range of 96, 97. 98 isn't bad. I think we were starting to get much better at it around that time frame. So anyway.
Because I remember a lot of clients popping up in that 96, 97 time frame. Ones I worked with, like realestate.com and easygov.com. And these were like one-person shows that went off and raised, I think 270 million and 400 and something in that time period. And then scaled from there. And I was also going to say that, so I remember those were all like e-commerce plays. And when everybody was trying to do anything that could, digitize data, like analysis type. When I was working in the real estate one, obviously it was about appraisals and things like that. in mortgages.
Yeah.
But I also was going to say, I think Amazon, was that really 94? I seem to remember the famous story about Bezos and his girlfriend heading off of Wall Street and driving out to Seattle, writing the business plan in the car. And I just think I heard that in 98. So it seemed like it was, unless they bought a company that was older and used that as their start date. I don't know.
Oh, hold on.
But there was so much that even when that bubble popped, the other big thing that happened was
July
all the fiber
5th.
deals.
July 5th in his garage, 1994. 54.
Oh,
July
wow,
5th,
okay.
1994. So,
all right. So I was off on that one. But it's also a thing with, when the dot-com stuff popped, and then one of the byproducts was pulling all that fiber, not just Global Crossing and Quest and those guys, but there was like 6 companies around DC that pulled so much fiber everywhere. And then there was like 6% capacity on the fiber, and everybody was like, what are we? No, well, I don't know if we have that.
I think we already had ours, dude. We just did it.
I think we have them every
like
couple
way
of
ahead
times.
of schedule. Yeah, we're way ahead of. We just had our .com bomb.
Yeah, but so when that fiber was there, everybody had to fill it up. What did it fill up with? There weren't smartphones at that point. So we all know it's YouTube and FaceTime and things like that, Netflix and all the things that's gobbled up all that bandwidth. And then also look at Amazon wasn't remotely what it is today then. It was books, and that was it. And Google, I think, remember the Gmail accounts coming out for free. And, PayPal I knew because that was the one that launched a whole bunch of stuff. But there was so much that came after it.
I thought Gmail didn't hit until like 2001. Oh, 2004.
I don't remember. It was, maybe that was it. Maybe that was it that late. But I remember people talking about the free accounts and shit. And I'm like, yeah, you guys don't get it.
That was Hotmail.
No, because you could reserve the Gmail addresses too. How was that?
Not back then. Yeah, I thought it was at least in the 2000s. Hotmail was.
No, you might be right on that date.
The first.
Yeah, April 1st, 2004. You're definitely right on that.
Yeah, and Hotmail was formed in 1996. Microsoft bought it in 97, which waste.
Well, remember there was like, what was it? There was like Yahoo, and there was Hotmail, and there was. Well, then Gmail in 2004, but everybody, Earthlink, Mindspring, everybody was still using Outlook on laptops to collect email. Yeah. And there was no texting going on. And then the Blackberries were around for a while, which kind of gave you the ability to sort of text email to people. But the infrastructure was just so, like one of my companies that came out of the fiber space then, they were doing web clipping, which is basically just, those Motorola flip phones and being able to see like a very brief message about what the site was, but you couldn't click it on there. You had to go to a laptop. So, this was archaic compared to now. So, and then everything that happened in the last 20 years. So that tells me when you look at crypto now and you think what's going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years, it's just, I never anticipated all of this in 2001.
No,
I don't know what it's going to be next. Particularly when you get all the predictive analytics and data mining and all of that stuff going on top of everything. Yeah. And then all the social content everywhere. You can stir up herds pretty fast, man.
Hey, before we wrap up, I want to bring up something we were discussing yesterday because I stumbled on this on Twitter. So there's a company called Crowd Health. And this is we were talking about health insurance models, DAOs, et cetera. This is not a DAO, but it is crowd-funded healthcare. Strong leadership team behind it. They started off fiat only and added Bitcoin after talking to some Bitcoiners for paying for it. But I'll quickly explain the model because I'm really I really like where this is potentially heading, and it makes a ton of sense. So the idea is that for a family of 4, you would pay Crowd Health $695 a month into your account. Some small percentage of that, I think it's $30 a month, goes to Crowd Health for maintenance, and they negotiate prices. They do all the things a good health insurance company would do in terms of negotiating with providers, et cetera, but they're not health insurance. But the idea behind this thing is cool because it allows you to build up an account with this system. And then if something happens to you, anything, And they even allow pre-existing conditions after the first year. If something happens to you from a healthcare perspective, let's say you have to go to urgent care for something, right? You go to urgent care, you pay the bill, and let's say it was $3,000 your visit to, maybe you ended up in the ER, which would be $15,000. You submit your bill to Crowd Health, and all of the other members of Crowd Health decide whether they want to contribute to paying your bill, right? And you get a score in the system based on how often you decide to allow part of your funds to go to pay the bill, right? So if you drop below 90%, there are penalties. 90% of the time, there are penalties for not paying the bills. So there's this incentive on you from a crowd perspective to pay the bills, and be willing to pay everybody's bills that come in. The cool thing that they do is on big bills, they will negotiate in advance for like big surgeries, cancer treatments, prescription drugs. They have a discount prescription plan, everything else. They negotiate in advance or after the fact on your behalf with the providers. And then if it's say a $300,000 bill, they agree to pay it, but they set up a payment plan of 3 years. And then the crowd pays it off. But for the average user, it's only taking $2 a month out of your pool of funds. So really cool system. They're now taking Bitcoin as part of it as well. Has a ton of great reviews from people that are using it. Oh, that's the other thing. You're responsible for up to the first $500 for every health event. So you personally pay out of pocket $500, but you get their discounted healthcare prices and their discounted prescription prices. So to me,
so a $500 deductible, basically.
Well, you've got a $500 deductible. Basically, you're out of pocket for anything $500 or less. But I mean, look, my health insurance for my family monthly health insurance alone is over $2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus the copays, plus for insurance, plus the deductibles, plus the out of pocket, This is really enticing to me. I got to tell you, I spent like an hour and a half last night thinking about this fucking thing because I love the model.
Well, what I'm thinking of, first thing I'm thinking of is, look, if you could, I don't know what the combination is or how this works, but like an alchemy thing on healthcare bills of some way where, you get the crowd, I guess you get the team, the community around that can help pay stuff, but it would be really interesting if there was a way for, because people make choices when they don't have money. It's get this surgery or get this prescription drug. Yeah. And they end up getting sicker. So it'd be neat if you could figure out a way to finance, like you said, everything that they're talking about, negotiating better rates and all of that, but then somehow have a way that it also pays the bill. And then maybe the yield that the platform gets is the differential between the discount rate that you negotiate and, I guess, whatever's paid. Is that the right way to say it? But there's definitely a business model in here that's got a UBI flavor to it. But
I mean, look, if you took say 10 to 20% of the funds and put them in some yield or other opportunities, investing on the stable side, lending markets, whatever, and you were low risk with it, you could exponentially increase the power of everyone to have their healthcare paid, right? Yeah. I just think this is a really clever model. This whole crowd scoring, you get a score based on, your willingness to pay every time, but everybody in the group decides whether they're paying or not. And they've evidently done the math and worked it out that they can make this thing work. It's a really cool model. And I really hope we start seeing things like, Niblet said, so much potential for self-insurance through crypto and DeFi. I totally agree. But when I start running through these numbers for this, if I could know that all of the healthcare that I submitted to this would be paid, I would do this in a heartbeat. My only hesitancy is whether or not people are always going to agree to pay and that my bills will actually get paid. But if there was a system that was earning additional yield to cover any gaps in that to me would be just freaking brilliant. So
like another Aflac kind of thing in there.
Yeah. So
the secondary stuff.
Exactly. So I really I love this model. We talked about it the other day. This is not DeFi oriented. The only thing crypto about it is that they now have a plan and a community that does Bitcoin based. So you deposit 75% in Bitcoin and 25% in fiat. Seems to me that's a little riskier on a downturn. But maybe they're doing something with the funds. I haven't climbed that deep into it, but this would save me a bloody fortune if I could feel comfortable with it. Oh, pick your own doctors. Doesn't matter where you go. They will look for alternative providers with high scores that they've already negotiated cheaper rates with. So it's an option for you to do that so that you're not taking up as much from the crowd, but you can pick your own doctors and go where you want. So, and from the reviews I read, everybody loves their level of service. Like you get this person that's your healthcare advocate that actually takes care of everything, negotiates everything, set up your appointments, does everything for you. So you don't have to climb through all the bullshit. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up.
There's so many things to do on that. I mean, I could see a tokenized model. I could also see a model where people pay more for, faster treatment or faster access. Maybe someone's more critical and needs it today, and the other one's like, yeah, just come back in the next 2 weeks. There's so many ways to use what we know well in this space.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think it's a really cool model, and I really hope we start to see more innovation around this because, in the United States, and apologies to everyone elsewhere that has sane healthcare systems, most of the world, in the United States, it is one of the biggest causes of bankruptcy. People die because they can't afford healthcare in this country. For us, it's a really big, giant pain point. So anyway.
Good find.
Huh?
I said good find. Very good find.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I would like to see we should look at other ones in the space that are using more crypto type models too. I'd be curious to see if anybody's doing anything there.
How about you apply this to a play to earn model, right? Like set up the scoring based on how often you exercise and upload and the data gets uploaded to the system, or how much sleep you get, right? And diet habits and putting in exercise programs with it. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to make this really do well. And the cool thing is eventually it could be something that maybe there's so much money that comes into it and earned on it and so much saved from people being healthier that, some of the funds get kicked back to members as a dividend or something. So I think there's a lot of cool things to be done here. And I really love this. And speaking of good health and getting plenty of sleep, I'm getting off now and I'm taking a friggin' nap because I've had 2 nights in a row with no sleep. So
all right, well, enjoy getting off and enjoy your nap.
I'm going to do both at the same time.
All right, buddy. Yeah, there you go. And hey, have a good weekend too, buddy. And everybody else, enjoy the weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. We appreciate you. We love you. Please share us on Twitter. Share us on your favorite social network. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, comment, click the little bell on YouTube. We really appreciate all of you. We appreciate your feedback and participation. Eamon and Niblets, you guys always add to the show and the value of our conversations. So thank you for taking part as well. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Joe, I will catch you later. Everyone have a lovely, lovely evening.